Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Talk and welcome to our Python tutorial series. So in our today's lecture, we are going to learn about Python functions and Python conditions and many more. So without any further ado, let's get started. So in our earlier video, you have learned that how we can get a mean value of a list, and we don't have any mean function in Python, but we have sum and len functions, built-in functions in Python, so that we can get our average or mean. So like that, we can create our own mean function so that we can get our mean value over and over rather writing the same code again and again. So how we can do this, we'll see it now. So now I'm going to erase this code and create our own function. And to create our own mean function, we need to write def. Def is a keyword that is used to create our own functions, our function definitions. So def space and your function name. So the naming convention is the same as your variable naming rules. Like you cannot start your function name with numbers, and any maths operator cannot be used in your function name. So here I am giving mean, and within bracket, round bracket, we need to pass some argument. So as we are going to get our mean value of a list, so this argument would be the input that we are giving here is a list. So I'm going to take it as my list, and after closing this round bracket, one colon is there, and then I'm going to press enter. So if you see, as I've pressed enter, this is automatically taken four spaces, four white spaces, one, two, three, four, like this. So this is called indentation. This indentation you have to remember when you are creating your own function. If your editor doesn't give you automatically this indentation, you need to remember that you need to give four spaces in your second line of function. So now I'm going to write this mean. So I'm going to write this mean because I don't want the function name and my mean value to be same. So I'm going to give this mean equals to sum of my list divided by len of my list. And then I'm going to return something. So return is a keyword in Python that will return the value that you want to return. So here what we want to return, we want to return this mean value. So I'm going to write it return this mean. So now if I open a terminal like this, and I need to go to the location where my basics.py file is present. So the location is this. So I'll be drag and drop it here, and then I'm going to this location. Okay. So now if I learn this Python file, that is my basics.py, so you'll see nothing happened. Why? Because I have created this function. That means I have defined my mean function, but I didn't call it. So to get an output, we need to execute this function. That means we need to call this function. So I'm going to call it like mean, and as input, we need to give a list. So square brackets, and I'm going to give a list as my function parameter, that is 1445. And to get an output, we also write print function, and within this print function I'm going to call my mean function like this. So I'm going to save it, and if I run my Python file, you will see that I have get my mean value of this list. Now as per my requirement, I can change this input like this and save it and run this again. So you see the mean value is changed because my input is changed. So like this we can call this mean function with some different inputs. but what we are doing here, we are just reusing this code. We don't need to write this code again and again. So this is the advantage of function. And if you see the type of the mean function here, like you see a similarity between sum and mean, that we have written sum and within round brackets we have given this input as my list, and also when we are calling mean function within round bracket we were giving the list as my input. So if I show you the type of mean function and also the type of sum function, so you will see what it shows. You'll see the type of mean is function and the type of sum is also a function, but it is a built-in function that is present internally in Python. So these two types are more or less same. So this is the use of function. So here you can see that we have used this return keyword inside our mean function. So what happens if we remove this return keyword? So I'm going to remove it and save it, and I'm going to run it. So here you can see that it is returning none. So here none means nothing. So it is not integer, it is not float, it means none, it means nothing. So Python implicitly returns none if you do not mention anything to return here. That means implicitly it runs like this: return none. It is a none object. So what it does, it goes to the mean function and then it calculates the mean function, the mean here with the sum and length of the list, and then it returns none. So that's why when we execute our Python code, we get none as our output. So sometimes what we do by mistakenly, we do use print instead of none. So what happen if we use print and save it, and then I'm going to run it again. So you'll see that it is partially correct. That means it is giving your mean output here, but also it is giving the none. Because what Python is doing, as I said, it is calculating this mean using this formula, and then it is printing this mean, that is the value 3.333. And then as you didn't mention anything to return here, so it implicitly takes return none and printing none. So what happen if you want to do some other operations with your min functions output, you will see the actual error what you will get. Like if we do my mean equals to call the mean function and give out parameter like 1 4 5. This is my list that I'm giving as input, and storing this mean value inside another variable called my mean, and then I'm going to print it like print my mean plus 10. So what should be the output? That the mean value of my list 145 and adding the 10 with my mean value. And this should be the output of this code. So I'm going to save it, and if I run it again, you'll see that there is a type error, unsupported operand for plus none type and int. That means int means 10 and none type, as there is no return here. So my mean is giving as my mean is giving the output as none type. So that's why none and 10 cannot be added. That's why this type error we are receiving. So if I give return instead of print over here, and save it and then run the code, you will see we are getting the correct output as the mean of 145, and then we are adding 10 over here and we are getting the correct output. So I think you have understood this, and you will remember where to use print and where to use return. So now we are going to learn about Python conditions, and how and where we are going to use Python conditions, and what are the keywords that is used to work with conditions. And suppose we are going to make some decision. So based on a condition, particular condition, if that condition is satisfied, we are going to do something, and if that is not satisfied, we are going to do some other thing. So if this kind of situation comes, we are going to use Python conditions. So here I am taking the Python interactive shell, and I'm going to run few lines of code here. Like suppose this is my list. Suppose it is Monday temp equals to suppose it is 10 comma 9 comma 8. Oops. Monday temp equals square brackets 10 comma 9 comma 8. Good. And suppose here I'm going to run, I'm going to write one dictionary, that is student grades. Okay. So we are going to write a dictionary with curly braces and write the student's name, was Jack, and 10 comma Jill colon 9 and Z. Okay, so 8, and closing the curly braces. So here is one list over here and one dictionary over here. And now if I want to, if I want to get the mean of the list, I'm going to do like sum of my Monday temp division length of Monday temp, right? This is the mean of the list. And uh, if I want to get back the mean of the student grades, this is a dictionary. So what I have to do, I have to do like this: sum of student grades dot values. This already I think in our earlier lecture we have learned it. Values divided by length of student grades dot values. Okay, so this is the mean of my dictionary. So here comes the here comes the need of conditions. Like if my type is dictionary, so I'm going to use this formula, and if it is not a dictionary, if it is a list, then I'm going to use this formula. So here comes the use of if and else, that is my conditions. If and else are the keywords that we use to define a condition, and what are the actions that you need to perform if that particular condition is satisfied. So here in my mean function, now I'm going to write it generic way, like I'm going to write it arg means argument. Okay, so now I'll write with the 4-space indentation, if the type of arg. Okay, so now if I see here in my Python interactive shell, type of student grade. Okay. What is this? Student grades is not okay. Student grades. It is student grades. So it is dict. So now what I'm going to write, if type of arg, that means the argument that is I'm giving as input of my main function, equals equals. This is not a assignment operator. This is a comparative operators. That means it used to check the equality. So type of argument equals equals dict colon. So now if you can see that the cursor has all is present with 4 indentation more. That means total it has 8 indentation, 8 white spaces, 4 for def and then 4 for if. So with after colon you always give 4 indentation. Okay. So if the type of argument is dictionary, so what is the formula that I need to write? This mean equals to, the formula is this, arg dot sum of uh, sum of arg dot values and round bracket divided by length of arg dot values. Good. And if the type of argument is not a dictionary, so what we'll do now, we are going to use else keyword. So for else I'm going back in the alignment of if. That means after def I'm going 4 spaces over here, then I'm going to write else and colon, and again if I press enter you will see that again more indentation with 4 spaces comes here. So else, that means if the type of argument is not dictionary, it will do this. Okay, control X, and I'm going to paste it here. And now I'm going to return this mean. So what we are doing here, we are calculating this mean for dictionary type, and if the type of argument is not dictionary, we are going to calculate the mean again for another type, that is list, or that can be anything else, and then we are going to return this mean for the mean function over here. So now if I am going to uh, you know what, I'm going to write it one more thing over here so that you can understand. I'm going to write print, this is a dictionary, so you can understand that we are running for a dictionary. And here I'm going to run print, this is a list. Okay, so I'm going to save it. And now if I run this code, I can run this like this, print, I'm going to call my function mean, and I'm going to give a list as my output, that is 1, suppose 10, comma 9, comma 8. What is happening? 10, comma 9, comma 8. Square bracket closed, round bracket closed for mean, and round bracket closed for print. I'm going to save it, and now if I run my code, that is py a6.py, uh, return is outside the function. Okay, we can see what is happening here. Okay, now you can see that return is outside the function because the indentation error. See, if I want to add return inside my function, I need to give 4 spaces over here. So if else and return should be aligned with each other after the 4 space indentation inside def mean. Okay, so now I'm going to save it, and then again I'm going to run it. Again, one more thing. What is it? Okay, so here I didn't change it. My bad. I'm going to write it sum of argument. It should be mentioned as argument because here I have passed arg in a parameter in a round bracket where I'm defining my function. So I have to write this same name that I've given here. So I'm going to now run it again. Okay, now you can see as I have given 10 9 8 as my list, so it is a list, it is printing as I have printed here, this is a list and it is giving the mean of my list. And now if I do the same for a dictionary, so for a dictionary what we need to do, we need a key value pair as you already know. So I'm going to write here one key as A. Okay, next key is B. It's just for understanding, so I'm not giving names here. And one more key is C. So now if I save it, so this curly braces is for my dictionary, this round bracket is for mean, and this round bracket is for my print function. So I think everything is good. Okay, I'm going to run it now. What happens? Uh, uh, uh. Okay, so here object of type built-in function has no length. Okay, so here I'm going to give a bracket because values, I didn't use round brackets with argument dot values that I've used here. So now I'm going to run it again. So now you can see here, this is a dictionary and dictionary's mean is 9.0. So I hope you understood how to work with Python conditions using if and else keyword. So as I told you earlier that this condition after if must be true, that means that this condition must be satisfied to perform this action. So what does it mean by condition satisfied? That means the condition type argument equals to dictionary has to be true to perform this action that is written under if, that means that is written under the four spaces indentation of if. If this is not true, Python will ignore the whole block of if and it will directly go to else block and perform the statements that is written under else. So I'm going to show you something for your better understanding. In our Python interactive shell, I'm going to write if 3 greater than 1 colon 4 spaces print greater and else 4 spaces print smaller. Okay. So now you can see the output is greater. Why? Because 3 greater than 1 is satisfied. That means 3 greater than 1 is true. That's why it is printing greater, not smaller. So if I do this, you will get more idea on it. So what I mean by it is true. So if I do 3 greater than 1 and enter, it will show you true. That means this condition is true and satisfied. That's why it is, it is printing greater over here. So if I do 3 equals to 3, here I'm going to check the equality between 3 and 3 and enter. You will see it is true. And if I do 3 equals to 4, it will show you false because 3 is not equals to 4. So here 3 greater than 1 is always true and 3 equals to 3 is always true. So if I do this as 3 greater than 1, removing it, and I'm writing if true colon, and then I'm going to write print greater and then else, and then 4 spaces again and print smaller. Now you will see this is the same output as this one because I'm mentioning here true, and also 3 greater than 1 means true. So these are the same things. So I hope you get an idea of what does it mean by condition is true and then performing the actions, then or working on these actions. So this is the thing. You must practice it for better understanding. So now what happens if you have more than two conditions to work upon? Suppose you have three conditions or more than two. Like we have already learned that we have three types of compound data types, that is dictionary, list, and tuple. So now if you have dictionary, uh, type of argument is dictionary, then you will do this statements to work, and then another is tuple. So and another is list. So before list, if I want to add tuple, we will use elif keyword to work on more than two conditions. So now what is happening here? If the type of argument is dict, it will perform these two statements. That means it will calculate the mean of dictionary. Elif, the elif means else if. So else if or elif, uh, the keyword is elif only. So elif, the type of argument is tuple. It will act on these two statements. That means it will print it, this is a tuple, and then it will calculate the mean. Else, this is a list, and it will calculate the mean of the list. So now if I want to print and call the mean function, what I have done here, let me do it again. I'm simply calling the mean function inside the print and calling like this. And now I'm going to give a tuple value. So as you already know that tuple is written with a round bracket. So I'm going to write it 1, 2, comma 3 and save it. So now if I run this code again, it will show this is a tuple and the mean is 2.0 because the argument that is passed while calling the function is a tuple and it is satisfied the second condition, that is inside the elif block. So for not only 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, in whatever number you can add conditions by by using elif. Like if this, it will happen. Elif this, the block is happen. Elif that, the next block is happen. Elif that, the next block is happen. And finally else. So the last block always will be else, and the first block always will be if, and the middle blocks, middle conditions always will be starting with elif. So that you need to remember. Okay, so here I am with some more extra tips to to make your code more readable. So regarding the white spaces, that I have already told you, that whenever you are writing whenever you are creating your function, you must give 4 spaces after the colon. And also if you are starting a new block of if, elif or else, once you are giving the colon, you also need to give the 4 space indentation to let the reader know that this block is under the if block and this block is under the elif block, and this one under is coming under the else block. So some more tips are here, that when you are writing the condition, like if type of arguments equals dict, you can write it like this also without any spaces. But the good practice is to have one space before the operator and after the operator. So it will make your code more readable. So you can see I have done this in all the cases in both the conditions. And again, the another thing is, whenever you are writing two different logical blocks, you have to give a white space line break. That means, see, if you can see here, this is one logical block, that is my function, and this print function doesn't come under the function. It is a different logical block. So I have given a white space indentation, that means line break, between these two blocks. This one is one block and this one is another block. So if I want to write another function here, so what I can do, I can also give again uh, line break of white space, and then I can start writing my function over here. So like this, you need to prepare your code more readable. And uh, one more thing here to mention, that that I'm saying that after colon you must give four spaces. It will actually work with one space also, but you must be, integrated, that you are giving one space all over your code. You should not do that four space for one block, then one space for next block, then two space for next block. This should not be done. If you are doing one space, so it should be done all over your codes. But try to prefer four space indentation, because it is a common practice all over the world for Python, that to start the first line of your function, or to start writing code inside your if elif or else block, you are giving four space indentation. It is the common practice. So try to maintain it, and that is it. So I hope you liked our video. And if you really encourage our efforts, please do like, share, subscribe our channel, and stay tuned with us. We are going to come with some other videos as well. And till then, tata, bye bye.